DMZ Season 5 has just dropped, and with it brings a ton of changes and secrets. Here on this channel, we love diving into secrets, so we'll be jumping into everything you need to know. Make sure you're subscribed for everything DMZ related, and if you learn something new, then leave a like rating to let me know. But easily, the biggest new change to DMZ in Season 5 is the introduction of what's called active combat zones. On all DMZ maps at random each game, certain POIs will become active combat zones, where two AI factions, Shadow Company and Coney, will be directly fighting each other. You'll be able to identify a active combat zone by a load of smoke emitting from that area, and these POIs become far dangerous than they usually are, as the AI are far more aggressive, they're fighting each other, and they also call in kill streaks, and these AI are not afraid to call in these kill streaks specifically on your location. So there will be moments where a precision airstrike is called on you, and you might assume that could be a real player calling that in, but if you're in one of these zones, it's likely to be the AI. Now, these combat zones are dangerous, but for good reason, because they are incredibly rewarding when it comes to loot. In this clip here, you'll see me in the Akdar village where this became a combat zone, and literally every single crate that I came across was a legendary crate containing the best loot that you'll find in the game, including tons of cash, 3-plated armor vests, so very easy to regain and to gather a ton of cash really quickly. But in some of the bigger POIs like Akdar village, this is an absolute gold mine for loot and could easily become some of the greatest loot spots in all of DMZ. And as time goes on and players get more used to the fact that these active combat zones exist, you can expect them to probably become a little bit more busy with real players trying to get all that loot. And I think this is an awesome change to DMZ, as it just spices things up a little bit. Now, another big addition is a new item called the disguise item. We saw it briefly during Season 4, but it's now here to stay. Now, these can be found rarely within duffel bags. The item literally changes the physical character model that you're playing as, and it adds a slight cloak to the edges of your point of view. And the way it works is that essentially allows AI to ignore you, which for some scenarios would be very, very useful. But the one downside is that it only works from a short distance away from the AI. If you get too close to AI, then the game is up. They realize that you're wearing a disguise and they'll start shooting at you. But I'm sure in some very unique scenarios, the disguise item will actually come in very, very useful. But on the topic of the disguise item, it's actually needed for a brand new edition, which is a brand new buy station called the Scavenger Buy Station. Now, this is a very interesting and unique mechanic, because on the map, there will be a brand new buy station which you can only access if on the map you can see that the scavenger is nearby and you are wearing this disguise. Now, on the map where it's pointed out where the scavenger's location is, the buy station will be there, and this can appear anywhere on all of the DMZ maps and sometimes in really strange locations, so you're gonna have to look around to find it. This can only be accessed whilst wearing the disguise item. This is a very unique buy station, as it has some of the more common items at a far reduced price than normal. A highlight here is the personal exfil only being $20,000 instead of $50,000. But on top of that, you can also barter very uniquely at this buy station, as every barterable trade is used with different dog tags that you'll find on the bodies of enemy players. So you can barter for a skeleton key and you only need one Damascus dog tag. Now, that is very rare to find. That's obviously someone that's exfilled over 8 times, I believe, but you can create some of the most sought after items from this buy station with just dog tags. So if you've killed a lot of players, you've come across the bodies and you have dog tags and a disguise, you can definitely go ahead and use this. Now, another huge change, which I'm sure you've come across if you've played DMZ by now, is the addition of the new MRAP vehicle. This thing is an absolute beast, being roughly the size and shape of a cargo truck. This thing has a grenade turret in the front, machine gun turret in the back. The driver can launch smoke grenades. 3 of these can spawn every single game. Now, in order to use them, you need to get an MRAP key, which you can find from incredibly rare looting or buying at a buy station for $200,000. And once you have the key, you need to go and find one of the MRAP vehicles and simply just use the key whilst you're driving it, and you'll be able to drive this thing around. And this thing is the most powerful thing I've ever seen. You can take out multiple teams teams in literally one single shot of that grenade turret. It almost feels unfair to use against players because they have no chance in hell of trying to fight back with this thing. Luckily, to balance it out, only 2 players can be in this thing, so you can't have 6-man teams rolling up on you and killing you with this thing. But this is definitely going to encourage teams to bring in the Joker launcher as well as any other offensive equipment to try and take out this thing, because you don't want to be on the other side of this thing. It feels so unfair. But I think because there's only 3 on the map and they cost so much in order to run, I think it's a fair balance. Now, this massive change benefits those that play DMZ solo. Ever since the release of DMZ, I've been pining at Infinity Ward to try and add something in to make it fair for those that play solo. And if you go to the FOB and passive upgrades, you can now unlock the ability to start every solo deployment with a self-revive. For solo players, that is huge, but in order to unlock it, you need to dead drop 40 self-revives, so that's going to take a little while. And a huge downside to this is it seems to only be available to those that have bought the full game of Modern Warfare 2. If you're a free-to-play player, you won't be able to unlock this ability. There is now a new gas mask called the Scuba Gas Mask that allows you to breathe underwater for long periods of time, as well as protecting you from the gas. Now, as the name implies, this thing works incredibly well underwater, and I'm showing you here just how long you can stay underwater with this thing. If you're ever in gunfights where you're trying to evade enemies by going underwater, you can stay underwater for probably around 3 minutes or so. This is a game changer for some of the missions in our Mazrah, like for example, we have to go into this boat off the edge of the map and try and find a specific key, and if you tried to do this normally, you wouldn't be able to. If you had a rebreather, you would run out of the rebreather just as you're about to finish completing this. But for other areas, like some of the Koshai complex where it's completely underwater, rebreathers you'd nearly run out of, but this will allow you to swim through that all with ease. This is an absolute game changer, and I really can imagine that there could be future maps where there are massive amounts of water where this will be a key part of that experience. Now, the Scuba Gas Mask also allows you to be protected within the gas, but as you can see here, in the gas, it ticks down a lot quicker than a durable gas mask, so just keep that in mind. Another pretty huge change is that Shadow Company AI have been added to all DMZ maps, and this AI are friendly. As you can see here in this gameplay on the map Vondel, they don't shoot at you at all, and they actually aid you in fighting against any other opposing AI forces like Coney. This feels so bizarre, but the approach now is that you shouldn't always shoot at AI first, because there's a chance that they simply won't shoot at you. And in this example here in Vondel, as you can see, even when I go to call on the exfil, Shadow Company are all around this part of the map and they aren't shooting at me whatsoever. So just bear that in mind. But if you do shoot them, you'll see that a warning will come up on the screen, and at that point they still won't shoot you. But if that is ignored, then they will start firing at you. But luckily, if your teammates are silly enough to not realize that they're friendly, they won't attack you. They'll only attack those that have shot at them. One peculiar map update to Al Mazrah is that there is now a new ship bridge tower boat that's been added to the very edge of Al Mazrah near the airport. There isn't anything overly special on here, but if you go further down the boat, you'll notice that there are now 5 missile containers. And according to some new intel added with Season 5, these are all headed for different POIs on Al Mazrah, the first being the cemetery. As pointed out on Twitter by the legend Killer Stitch, this apparently fits with an exact location that Philip Graves points to in the Season 5 intro cutscene, where he places a bullet on Al Mazrah. Now, this could be directly connected to another map change, because across Al Mazrah there are other missile containers that are scattered, and you can find one of them here. And at first it just seemed like massive sort of objects that have been placed down seemingly randomly, but I think this is all going to tie into either the narrative surrounding Coney now on Al Mazrah, or this could all be tied into the reveal event for Modern Warfare 3. Now, some other new equipment was added into DMZ, as they've now added self-revive boxes as a field upgrade, where it literally is what it sounds. You can drop a box and everyone in your team, including yourself, can get a self-revive from it. Pretty cool. But on the topic of self-revives, they've now added a brand new self-revive item, which is called the Battle Rage self-revive. This is equipped just like a normal self-revive kit. And essentially what this does is that once you revive yourself, where I think you can revive yourself a little bit quicker than a normal self-revive, you get the benefits of the Battle Rage field upgrade. It allows you to heal more quickly quickly, and the tactical sprint is also constantly refreshed for a short period of time. And of course, you get the battle rage sort of veins all across your screen for a little bit. Another new vehicle addition is the dirt bike, and this is a super fast vehicle. And what makes this so much fun is that you can actually do wheelies on this bike, and you can even do air tricks as well, which makes this just such an entertaining vehicle. I love that it's fast, then it also has the benefit of that. I don't know how quickly this will get old, but right now I think it's so fun. The only downside is that it's only a one-person vehicle. You of course can stand on the edges, but this really was made for solo players to zoom around the map. Now, if you're someone that has grinded all of Season 4 and has unlocked everything possible for DMZ, you can now earn other upgrades to spawn in with, such as having up to 5 armor plates, the ability to put on the rebreather field upgrade before you deploy in, and an armor box field upgrade before you deploy in, which I think are also very welcome additions. Now, you've probably already noticed this, but there was a ton of UI changes across all of the game, and the UI in-game now shows the collective amount of money that your team has, so you don't have to work it out anymore. You can see the individual price and then the full-fledged total amount of money that you all have. Similarly, the UI will now also show actions for everything in-game that's happening between you and your other teammates, such as when someone's piloting in a chopper, when someone is actually already exfilled as well. So especially if you're playing with randoms, you now don't really have to guess what they're doing, because the game now shows you some really useful icons. Now, I've left the biggest secret of all until the end of this video, but they seemingly made a secret change to how the final exfil works. What I mean by this is usually once a timer hits 0, the screen goes black, and if you're still alive, you're gonna go down and then the game is going to end. But if you know you're gonna miss the final exfil, you've purchased a personal exfil and you call it in before that timer fully hits 0. Once the timer has actually hit 0, everyone still left in the game gets downed, and then eventually the game will just end. But the game will no longer end, because as long as that personal exfil is making its way into the game, you will still survive past that 0 point. And as long as you're in the exfil helicopter itself, even before it's flown completely out the map, instead of the game just ending, you will actually still exfil, which is a massive change. At this point in the game, if you were still in the map after you've gone down and revived yourself, the game will just go to a black screen and you'll see an overview of the map where you will have died. But in this case, you'll see that that still happens, but we get successful exfil and you still manage to exfil and keep everything. So go ahead and use this before they change it. A few other small changes they've made is that they've now added the TAV vehicle, which is the water vehicle, onto every DMZ map, so it's no longer just on Vondel, and I think that's going to be very, very good on Ashika Island, but it's also here on our Mazrah. And this change is incredibly subtle, but for those that play on PC like me, for the last few seasons now, advanced UAVs have been bugged, where on console they work perfectly fine, but on PC they didn't work the same way, where if you called in an advanced UAV, both real players and AI would become the Dorito chips, and you could not tell the difference. But now you can finally tell the difference, as now AI are just marked as a UAV and real players are now shown as those Dorito chips across every part of the map, and you can see them moving in real time, their direction. This is fantastic. Let me know what you think of Season 5, and if I've missed anything, drop a like, subscribe for more.